Hi you guys, I'm Isabel Waia'u Walker and I'm a creator here on YouTube. I've been on this platform using it as a way to share my favorite covers and my original music for years. And throughout those years, as I've grown in size and as YouTube is just kind of morphed and transformed, they roll out different perks and options every once in a while. And most recently, they've added a means of creating and sharing and selling your merch here directly on your page. This new program through YouTube is available to creators who have 10,000 subscribers or more. So if you fit that demographic, you could use my trial and error as a tutorial. And those of you who are on your way to it, if it's of any use to you, please stick around and listen, because my hope is that the things that I've had to navigate without a whole lot of instruction, that you could use this and just skip all the mistakes. That would be rad. So stick around, stay tuned. I'm gonna call it my Teespring tutorial 1.0, only because I intend to continue learning as much as I can about how I can utilize this new facet of YouTube for creators. And as I figure out what works and what really doesn't work, I will come back to you guys and share the pros and cons of everything that I've tried, everything I've experienced. There were a handful of videos that I sourced when first trying to utilize Teespring for my merchandise, and I'll put the one that stood out to me the most in the information box below. It's kind of what gave me just enough information to do some digging on my own and start clicking around until I could figure it out. I hope this will be a great resource for anyone who's in the same position as me, but especially to musicians, singers, songwriters who are trying to use this world of YouTube to support their craft. So if that's you, I feel you. I don't know you, but I feel like we'd have a lot in common, and I would have loved to have some support in this way. So let me extend that to you first. I suppose I should start with the issue or the problem that I believe YouTube and Teespring were trying to address by rolling out this new program. I can speak specifically as a musician. I'm not a magician. As a musician and singer-songwriter, this should be relevant to those of you who are creating things outside of that, but my experience can only let me speak for those who are musicians using YouTube. So a big issue is, how do you earn an income? I mean, there's greater kind of like philosophical issues about how to remain true to your craft while still earning an income, but that aside, a real issue is how to make sure that you're able to sustain yourself as an artist, as a creator, as you're spending all this time and these resources creating content. Whether you are a musician playing out live and touring, or if most of your audience is here on YouTube, you are faced with the biggest question of how do I monetize this? How do I make sure that my intellectual property is making at least enough to allow me to continue doing this for the long haul? So that's a big issue. How do you make income? As a small musician like I am, in my season of life and career, merchandise is one big way that you can make back your money. So these days, my music's streaming online, it's on YouTube. Most of it is free. That music's out there and it's ready and available for people to listen to, which is amazing. But there's not a whole lot of money coming in from that if you are a musician of my size. So the next thought is, well, merchandise. How can I create worthwhile, fun products that represent me? But then you have the issue, if you're playing out live, of lugging the stuff around, not even to mention the fact that you have to have the available capital to buy the shirts or to buy the EPs or the tapes or the stickers or the postcards or the pins, and then you have the issue of sizing and what happens if you buy too much of one. How are you going to liquidate that when you have new stuff coming in? So it's not impossible, but it's definitely a difficult one to navigate. And some people do really well with it in the live setting and even online, and others it's a struggle. And I would argue that those who are doing a really good job of it, it's not happenstance. They are working intentionally to get their merchandise out there into the hands of their people, and it's a lot of work. So that's the big issue. Oh, a couple other things. If any of you are musicians playing out live, you will totally empathize with this, is how to find people to help you out with your merch table. That's just maybe my personality. I'm pretty awkward and cringy. I would have a really hard time working my own table. I would do it, but I'm odd. And I know I would probably ward off people and insist that they don't have to buy anything because that money would be better spent on something else. I just get really weird. So selling your merchandise at a table can sometimes be incredibly emotionally draining, and you're already putting so much of that into the creation and sharing of your music that it's almost like you got nothing left when you're at that table. They might as well put like a paper cutout of myself there. Another thing is, like I mentioned, is how do you get a diversity of products that people actually want? And how do you price them at a point where it can make sense for you as an individual, your owner of your own small business, to make that initial payment for all these goods? I mean, it's a lot to navigate. And then down to like, if you're geographically limited, so if most of my listening audience is in another state or in another country, a whole other part of the world, they're not going to be coming to my live shows. So if I have merchandise there, that's rad for the people who show up in that space. That's amazing. But Eduardo in Brazil, he's not going to get a shirt unless I send it to him. And then that creates a whole other layer of my business. So Teespring and YouTube are partnering, and they have rolled this out for creators here on YouTube with 10,000 or more subscribers. So if you have 10,000 or more subscribers, you can now create merchandise through Teespring for free and have it connected and shown on your YouTube channel. So every video that you create and post will have your merchandise, your store basically, listed right below. So typically where you see the info box, that's your merchandise counter. You can make shirts, socks, mugs, buttons, posters. Did I say stickers, hoodies, crew necks, hats? All the things that you've probably been thinking about making, but you're trying to negotiate the cost and who's going to make it locally. Can they even make it well? How many of each size do I get, or color? Will people even like it? What if I buy 100 of these and I can't sell any of them? That's happened. So this new partnership between YouTube and Teespring is only like a month old. A little shout out to Tyson for being on top of it and getting me on the train. Thank you, Tyson. So it's only a month old and I'm like a day into it. So this is literally tutorial 1.0. But what I've seen so far, and I spent the day doing this, is that in this partnership between the two, creators here on YouTube with 10,000 subscribers or more are able to create and sell merch through Teespring on their YouTube channel. And there's a whole lot of pros in this. First of all, creators get a pretty generous cut of the profits, nearly 50%. It really just varies depending on the materials you're using, how grand your design is. But you get a generous cut, and they even provide like a suggested pricing. You can change it from that, but typically the suggested pricing that they offer, or that they tell you to go with, is most likely the best price point, where you'll draw people in and it'll still be desirable to buyers. Another thing, you can design products in minutes for free, so there's no risk. So if you've been thinking about that shirt or that crew neck or that hat or that weird sock design or buttons or whatever the case, but you haven't felt freed up to create a design and take a risk, because like, what if it's just horrible? What if no one likes it? Or what if I buy a bunch of them and it's just a complete, it takes the risk out. You can create it, try it out. You can create like timelines of how long you're going to sell them. And then if it's not doing well, you can take it out of your store and create something new. So low risk, super high reward. Teespring has a number of different designs and texts that you can build directly on their site for your shirts or your hoodies or your hats and stuff like that. But if it's too blah and generic for you, or if it's not really capturing your aesthetic, you can create a design and upload it too. So you're not just stuck with this like really limited template. If you yourself are designing your stuff, or you have fellow artists who you're partnering with like art shares, you can use your own artwork and upload it. And yeah, and even photos and things like that. Super cool thing. This is one of those things that's a game changer beyond taking the risk out of it and making it available for you just to create basically a store. Is that store, that Teespring store, shows up under every video that you upload on your YouTube channel. So anytime someone watches your cover of Ryan Adams' Oh Sweet Carolina, right below it your merch counter is available. So it's visible, it's accessible, no one has to shop there. That's one of the things that's just cringy for me. I have a really hard time selling my own stuff in person because I will talk you out of buying it. But then as a creator on YouTube, you're doing the work to create the merch that you think is worthwhile. You're putting it out there, and anyone who thinks it's a good idea, they can make that choice and they can buy it. And it's just so quick and easy and accessible. It seems a little bit too good to be true. So we'll see how this plays out. Oh, and there's one more thing to it. Teespring. One thing that's been really fun is being able to create your store. So they have a little simple thing where you can talk a little bit about your campaign, who you are. So you can do like little campaigns for your merchandise. You can choose to run it for a limited amount of time and completely remove it. Or you could keep it running for quite some time. I think it's like every 3 days they do a batch of your merchandise. So you don't have to keep the inventory. You don't have to put out the upfront costs. You just have to create and then stay on top of it to make sure it's stuff you still believe in. So I'm going to show you a little example of what I've done today. This is the beginnings. So if you're further along, I'd love to hear how this is going for you. And if you haven't started it yet, this is a perfect video for you because this is super early in the game for me. So I have been wanting to make a shirt out of this image for a long time, and I'm actually gonna go grab it. Let me describe it first. So this picture, it's a blown up version on like thick poster board cardstock of my parents' engagement photo. So Kaleo and Shelly Waia'u, you are forever going to be a part of my merchandise history. But so I found this, I moved up here for college. I lived with my grandparents during grad school, and I found in their basement this massive copy of my parents' engagement photo. It's really kind of odd. It's odd that it's that big, yes, but it's fantastic. And I really like it for so many reasons, for some really special, deep emotional reasons, but also because I just think it's pretty freaking hilarious that someone blew their picture up this big. I've held on to that picture for over a decade, and if you know anything about me, I'm also a high school teacher. That poster has been in every classroom I've taught at. So my first 5 years, every high school classroom, and then I went to a middle school for 3 years, every middle school classroom, and then I'm back at the high school, going into another 3 years at the high school. It's been in every classroom. It's been a way for me to explain my context, my history, who my parents are. I feel like it's funny, so it also explains this like weird, quirky, awkward sense about me. Just been really special, and I've always thought, man, I gotta put that on a shirt. And now that Teespring and YouTube have made this connection, I have. So what you're gonna see right now, this is my Origins Bobo Barina campaign. I have a black tee, really nice, like soft material, with this engagement photo of my parents. I'm calling it Origins because duh, they made me. There's also a crew neck sweater. It's in navy and in black. And then there's a sticker. And again, my personality, I'm like, who's gonna buy a sticker of my parents? Maybe no one. Maybe everyone. Maybe I already have bought stickers and I'm sending them to all my friends. But the point is, if you're a creator with more than 10,000 subscribers, that risk is gone now. You can just come up with ideas that you think are worthwhile or fun to you, feel like really represent who you are in your craft, and you can try them out. And if they bomb, try something new or better. And hopefully you can actually make that money to solve the whole issue of income as a musician. When you're making your little storefront, your merch counter, you get to pick out the design, the coloring, the materials, the shirt. You can go with a more basic tee, and then hopefully it'll be cheaper for the overall product will be cheaper for your buyers, or you can go with a maybe a higher performance tee. I don't know what the language is. Anyways, you set the price, they'll let you know how much you would make, and then you can watch your analytics, and as purchases come in and out, they'll let you know when they do a batch of printing and shipping. And holy cow, it's just taking so many of the things that I've had to navigate on top of the writing and creating and sharing and playing out live and playing here on YouTube, and it's just so nice to package all of this up and give it to someone else who specializes in it and say, like, do it well and make my people happy. That's rad. Actually, I'm gonna go get it real quick. Don't leave. Okay. So my first experiment, and I say experiment confidently because I really believe in this piece of merch, and it's more of an experiment because Teespring via YouTube is still really new. But my shirt, my crew neck, and my posters are all based off of this magnificent picture. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. So this is Shelly. In this picture, she was Shelly Lee Daniels, Kaleo James Waia'u, Kaleo and Shelly Waia'u. Little explanation about this. When I first met Tyson, who is now my husband, when we were just like friend dating. Dating. We were dating at that point. I think I told my parents we were dating. He hadn't met them. I don't even think he had seen. It was pretty early on where I thought I could trick him. So I had my parents sign this as if it was like an album cover, and then I was just doing that to mess with Tyson. And then eventually when he met them, he was like, oh my gosh, they look like the people from that album cover you have in your room. But it was just my parents. So anyways, that was a little small story, but I want to tell you about this. So this is their engagement photo. My mom and dad told me that they just started driving one night when they were dating, went on this unintentional road trip, and then they met in Spokane in college. They ended up driving all the way back to my mom's hometown on accident, or got close enough that it just made sense to keep going. They ended up at my grandma and grandpa's, and then what did they do? Oh, my grandma was like, you should take your engagement photos, which she called premarital photos. So they did, but funny thing, my parents are both wearing my grandparents' clothes in this picture, so that's just another layer of weird, wonderful, nothing bad about it. It's just funny to think that that's not even really them. And they both can't get over the fact that they don't really know where they're looking. This still happens though. Senior photos, engagement photos, wedding photos, just photos, band photos, where they tell you to look off in the distance to look like longing, but they forget that most of us are not models, so we just look lost. I think that they're sexy. Foxy Shelly and wonderful Papa Kaleo. Oh, this is just my favorite. And this is, I promise, if any of my students are watching this, they can attest. Please comment below. Please back me up that this has been in every classroom. It's either behind my desk or on the other side of the classroom so I can look at it. Mwah. So this, yeah, if you want a piece, not just of merchandise, but my mom calls it hysterical and historical, then you please head over to my merch counter or look below. If you look below right now, you should be able to see an example of it. Everything I've described to you, I should have 3 things there, and you click it and it takes you to Teespring. You can pay with your credit card or through PayPal. It's quick, it's easy, it's established. It's not some weird site where you're afraid that they're gonna empty your bank account. One last thing. I took this to the airport. I try to, anytime my parents come to visit, and how people will make signs with like names on it. They say, we're here for the Rogerstein family. I just bring this. And I get that weird look from my parents like, that's special. I hope overall that this was beneficial to you, even if you're not in that demographic when it comes to number of subscribers. You're on your way. And if I know anything about YouTube's habits, this eventually will be extended to many more creators beyond just that demographic. So experiment. I hope it works out for you. If this was helpful to you, come back, because my plan is just to keep digging into this and trying things out and taking risks, making mistakes, correcting my mistakes, just to see what works best for my craft, my channel, my personality, my heart, my bank account, all that. So, yeah, check in. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe, and I promise you that I'll keep sharing this process. Selfishly, because it's just really beneficial to me too, but I would have loved along the way, as I've been building this channel like all of you guys have been, it's always been really important to have people who are a little further down the line say like, this is the way to go and these are the pitfalls to avoid. And it's been really hard when they haven't existed, because you just end up spending a whole lot of time navigating unknown waters. So I hope this was beneficial to you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Happy merching, and check out the Origins merchandise below. And get a little piece of Cleo and Shelly. That's weird.